The 80s gave us some of the most iconic TV shows of all time. Think The A-Team, Miami Vice, and Cheers. But for every hit, there were a dozen others that faded into obscurity, buried deep in the vaults of forgotten television history. Here are a few 80s TV shows that were so obscure, even die-hard retro fans might struggle to remember them. Riptide was an action-adventure series that combined private detectives with high-tech gadgets, a helicopter named Screaming Mimi, and plenty of 80s charm. Starring Perry King, Joe Penny, and Tom Bray, the show followed a trio of detectives who operated out of a yacht in Los Angeles. It had all the trappings of a classic 80s series, but despite running for 3 seasons, it never quite reached the same level of fame as its contemporaries like Magnum P.I. However, the theme song, composed by Mike Post and Pete Carpenter, remains a hidden gem of 80s TV soundtracks.
All right, freeze, turkeys! Drop the hardware!
This is November 6, 9, or 8, calling Coast Guard. We have captured the vessel Westerly with Lieutenant Quinlan aboard. Please send help.
Lieutenant, would you hand me that revolver right there, please? Good, thank you. That's great. I was a little worried about his .45.
Why, what's wrong with it?
No clip.
Simon and Simon was a classic 80s detective show that paired two brothers with wildly different personalities. Rick, the laid-back ex-Marine, and AJ, the buttoned-up college grad, as they ran a private investigation agency in San Diego. Running for 8 seasons, it was a solid ratings performer, but often overshadowed by flashier shows of the era like Miami Vice. The show's low-key, character-driven approach wanted a dedicated fan base, though today it's more likely to pop up in nostalgic conversations about forgotten 80s TV than in reruns.
It's close enough.
I'm sorry, Mr. Abba Dabba Dabba Dabba.
How?
Pardon the expression, Chief, but you're sunk. You hot dog. You gonna blow the smoke out of the barrel?
How are we supposed to do surveillance with people like that out there? We can't watch people with people watching us watch people.
Hardcastle and McCormick brought together a gruff retired judge and a charming ex-convict in a fast-paced action series that was as much about car chases as it was about bringing criminals to justice. Starring Brian Keith as Judge Hardcastle and Daniel Hugh Kelly as Mark McCormick, the show featured a red Coyote X sports car that became as iconic as the duo themselves. Despite 3 seasons of high-octane action, the show didn't quite achieve lasting fame. The Greatest American Hero was a quirky blend of superhero adventure and comedy that found its niche in the early 80s. Starring William Catt as a high school teacher who inherits a superpowered suit without the instruction manual, the show was a lighthearted take on the superhero genre long before it became mainstream. The theme song, Believe It or Not, was a hit, reaching the Billboard Top 40, but the series itself struggled with ratings, lasting just 3 seasons.
I want you to find me a clown, Bill. His name is Yuri Jovanovich. He's a Polish national. His specialty is getting out of a 2-foot-high squashed car and walking backwards on his hands. You two ought to get along like brothers. All you gotta do is find him.
Polish clown?
Takes one to find one, is my theory.
Before he became a household name in Arrested Development, Jason Bateman starred in It's Your Move, a short-lived sitcom about a scheming teenage con artist. The show had a sharp, subversive sense of humor, with Bateman's character constantly trying to outwit his mother's new boyfriend. Despite its clever writing, It's Your Move lasted only 1 season, a victim of low ratings and perhaps being ahead of its time. Today, it's mostly remembered by die-hard fans of Bateman's early work and those who appreciate a sitcom with a darkly comedic edge.
Perfect, perfect. Now is all the lighting set?
Right.
And music we bought from Manuel's band is all queued up. Just one thing, Matt. See, if we have to make a run for it, I'm attached to these guys. Do they count as passengers or baggage?
You lie. If it comes to that, you won't make it to the taxi anyway.
Aimed at children, The Great Space Coaster was an offbeat, puppet-filled variety show that aired in syndication throughout the early 80s. While it never reached the iconic status of Sesame Street or Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, The Great Space Coaster had a loyal following and is fondly remembered by those who grew up watching it.
There are two things I can't eat for dinner, breakfast and lunch. Don't stop me if you've heard this one. I want to hear it again. I wonder if it hurts to crack a joke. No, I don't think these jokes would cheer up a laughing hyena.
Street Hawk was a short-lived action series about a cop who moonlights as the pilot of an experimental all-terrain attack motorcycle. With Rex Smith as the titular hero, Jesse Mack, the show was a mix of Knight Rider and Airwolf, but with a high-speed, ground-level twist. Despite its slick production and thrilling action sequences, Street Hawk only lasted one season, with 13 episodes produced. Automan was a sci-fi series that tried to capitalize on the popularity of Tron with its story of a computer-generated superhero brought to life by a police computer expert. Chuck Wagner starred as the holographic Automan, who could create vehicles out of thin air and had a glowing blue suit that was pure 80s futurism. Despite its innovative concept, the show was plagued by high production costs and low ratings, leading to its cancellation after just 12 episodes.
Here, this should get you off to a good start.
Well, where do I look?
You don't. I'm gonna feed it straight into you.
What? I'm in the movie.
No, the movie's in you.
Long before Game of Thrones made fantasy cool, Wizards and Warriors tried to bring sword and sorcery to primetime TV. The show followed the adventures of a heroic prince and his companions as they battled an evil wizard and his minions. Despite its ambitious special effects and elaborate medieval settings, the show couldn't find a strong audience, lasting just 8 episodes.
But others have tried to combine black magic and royal blood. They've all suffered.
Did they have my position, my cunning, my abilities?
No.
Crime Story was an ambitious crime drama from Michael Mann, set in the early 1960s and following the battle between Chicago cop Latin Mike Torello and mobster Ray Luca. The show was praised for its gritty realism, cinematic style, and period-accurate details, earning it a strong critical following. Despite its acclaim, Crime Story struggled with ratings and was canceled after 2 seasons.
Motivate. You see what I'm saying? It's like when those guys climbed Everest. Why'd they do it? 'Cause it was there. You see what I'm saying? So what makes you want to be a jockey?
I do it for the money. I hate horses. I love money.